It's Hawks Live, fueled by Georgia Natural Gas. Crazy ending in a game that felt like it had been decided already. Hawks somehow had a chance with .1 left on the clock and couldn't quite pull it out here in Detroit on the second night of this back-to-back. Tabitha Turner, Matt Weiner, good to have you with us. First of all, people were leaving here thinking the game was over. I thought the game was over. I was preparing myself for the post-game show, and then suddenly it wasn't over.
I mean, Jalen Johnson is that guy, and I love what he did at the end of the game. Again, him and Nickeil Alexander-Walker taking things into their hands. And on the way out, Jalen Johnson talking to the crowd and saying, "We will be back." I love how he loved the competition in this game, and he really wanted this win. I almost thought we were going back into overtime again tonight. Yeah,
we will be back here in 11 days because of the scheduling change due to the NBA Cup. But for this game, you know, Detroit plays a really ugly sort of style of basketball, but it's really effective. I say ugly in the kindest possible way because it works for them.
I mean, JB Bickerstaff is not shy about telling about his team. They like the grittiness. They like the dirtiness of the game. That's when they get down into it and really pull games out. And you can see it in their play. I mean, this is a big team. They're a physical team. I thought Atlanta did a good job of hanging in there. There were some things we could have mitigated, and we'll get into that. But again, this Detroit win was a good win for them on their home floor. Kudos to Atlanta for keeping Cade under his average.
And you can see the way Detroit plays in our forward keys, including a massive rebounding advantage in favor of the Pistons, plus 26. It is hard to give up 26 more rebounds than you've grabbed and win a basketball game. Somehow Atlanta managed to keep it tight. In fact, this is sort of miraculous. They actually took more field goal attempts than the Pistons did, but you see the second chance points, offensive rebounds very much in favor of the Pistons, and this is the way they play.
Yeah, and it was the defense that kept Atlanta in it. Again, the steals, the turnovers that they caused on Detroit to get those easy buckets. I thought we missed some layups, some easy bunnies at the rim. Detroit's defense was a big deal, their size. And you can see it right here. You see the kind of basketball that Atlanta likes to play, the transition game, getting steals, defense to offense. And this is what kept the game very close. This is why this was only a 1-point lead for Detroit at the end of regulation, despite the rebounding battle. Atlanta did a good job being physical in the second half. And the difference to me was with their defense and how they had put the rotations.
That forced 23 turnovers. Detroit shot 44% for the game. And Jalen Johnson and later Nickeil Alexander-Walker both came alive in the second half. For Jalen, 25 after halftime. He finished with 29 points tonight.
It's crazy. He only had 4 points at halftime, all from the free throw line. Give Quinn Snyder and his staff their flowers because it happened last season as well when Trae missed 10 games. And then again this season, you got key players out and they just find a way to make it work. Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels in the second half took a lot of the ball handling duties, and that's where I feel the credit needs to go to the coaching staff. They made a difference in how they got Jalen the basketball because they just started with him getting the basketball or Dyson Daniels, and there is where the offense came in as far as Jalen getting his three-point shot going. He was big there, especially at the end of regulation, but also his points in the paint.
Jalen Johnson, who came in shooting over 40% from three, that's a career high by a fair amount. Knocked down 4 of 8, all 4 of those after the break. And you're right, the ball handling duties were primarily with Jalen Johnson and Nickeil late in this game. They have spread it out a little more, but you're starting to see more of defined roles in terms of who's going to handle the ball in these clutch situations.
Yeah, definitely in the clutch, right? Again, that's going to be Dyson. It's going to be Nickeil. It's going to be some Keaton. You're going to have some Jalen Johnson because the game is just in crunch time now and you want them to have the ball. The defense from Detroit in the first half is credit them because they kept the ball out of Jalen Johnson's hands, but they also made everything difficult for him. Jalen needed to lean in a little bit more to the physicality, and I think he did that in the second half.
So it comes as a loss, a schedule loss, you might say, after a double overtime game, second night of a back-to-back, but a loss nonetheless to this Detroit Pistons team, and they are rolling. Much more coming up here back in Motown. Or do you prefer Motor City?
Motor City. I think Motown is kind of like you're
saying I'm old.
Older than me.
Wow. I mean, I know it's true. You didn't have to come out and say it.
I mean, my back hurts right now.
You think Motown is a generational thing?
No, I mean, I know of Motown. Okay, back to the game.
We're in Detroit. I think I prefer Motown. Anyway, back in Detroit, where the Hawks were game for this difficult task tonight against the Pistons, but come up short 99-98. Time for Toyota to go places. Nickeil Alexander once again standing tall as time grows short. 16 of his 26 in the fourth quarter tonight.
I mean, he is understanding the assignment that the ball needs to be in his hands late. Yes, also in Jalen's hands, but Nickeil is not backing down. Had 4 threes in the second half, 16 points, as you mentioned, alone in the fourth quarter. And he's just clutch in the fourth. I love how he has that confidence to shoot, the aggressiveness to the rim. Quinn Snyder, we talked about it at the beginning of the game, giving him the confidence to be able to go in there. He had to know that he needed to be aggressive to the rim. They gave him that confidence. He has a lot of questions, and the coaches have answers for him. I like the last play drawn up for Nickeil because, yes, he did make that three-point shot, or it was a shot before the last one. Yeah. But I like the fact that they put the ball in his hands. They're trying to instill confidence in him. They're trying to instill confidence in Jalen, all their playmakers, because at the end of the shot clock, you can't be obvious with who you want the ball to be in their hands, which I think the Hawks did a little bit of that today. If
I ask you if Nickeil Alexander-Walker is scared to take a big shot, do you know what the correct answer is?
I would say no.
No.
I fell for it.
That is yes, you absolutely did.
Dang it.
All right, as for that last possession, which the Hawks somehow got off the inbounds pass, it almost miraculously worked off that inbound from Luke Kennard. The former all-state high school quarterback made quite a delivery, and Jalen Johnson had a chance to win this thing.
I love that they got it to Jalen because look at this. Going into the contact, I felt like last night there were a few plays where he went away from the contact. On that one, he had no choice but to go into it, and he wanted that last shot. I say it again, Matt. We were watching the team walking out after the game. Jalen Johnson talking to the fans saying, "We will be back. We will be back." He wanted this win. He wants the competition, and I like where Jalen is right now.
There had to be significant contact for a foul to be called in that situation, but give yourself a chance. They put it up there, and he had an opportunity. Time to revisit FanDuel picks, and Jalen Johnson once again enters the conversation.
I mean, I think he got over the numbers that we projected for him, which I thought he would get, but he did it from all over the floor, and mostly in the second half. I mean, it was his points production. It was the rebounds. It was how he read the defense, and mostly in the second half. He kept it in his hand. And look at how he cleared the way for himself. He got a shot going from the inside, so they had to play him for the interior. So what does that do? That opens up your outside shot. 49 points combined with assists and rebounds. Jalen Johnson doing work for the Hawks.
29, 13, and 7 assists for Jalen Johnson at that very, very quiet first half. And the numbers coming off a crazy November continue to pile up for Johnson. So they got more out of him than they expected, or than we asked you to expect. Hey, a reminder, if you miss a Hawks game live, check out the FanDuel Sports Network app and take your choice of a 5, 10, or 15-minute condensed game. There's 2 of Jalen Johnson's 29 on the night. Tough finish for the Hawks. We'll hear from head coach Quinn Snyder on the other side. At 11-0, Pistons run, put them up by 6. Hawks were down by 6 with less than 2 minutes to go, scrambled back, but fall short tonight, 99-98. Let's hear from head coach Quinn Snyder in the Georgia Natural Gas post-game press conference.
Tonight to come out against a team that is, doing what Detroit is doing this year and, leading our conference, and for our guys to play through what was a really physical game. Jalen in particular to have the first half that he had, and he just had great poise on the bench. There wasn't any part of him that was frustrated, and we didn't get discouraged. And that to me is, as much as anything, is what we take from this game. Obviously you want to win. Well, that's a given. A few things we could have done better here and there, but I think that the mental toughness of our group is something that, as I said, is encouraging, especially a very young team.
And same for Nickeil in the fourth quarter, the way he came through.
And Nickeil's, I think if you were talking about any one player in that respect, it would be him. You can take it for granted sometimes, and they don't. As you said, his competitive level is consistently at the very top, and guys feed off that, his leadership and his competitiveness. But I thought, our whole team was in that frame of mind.
Coach, what did you like about that response to Detroit's 9-0 run at the end of the third?
Yeah, we had some shots. We weren't taking our shots. And against a team that defends like they do, if you don't, I don't even care if they get blocked. But if you don't take those, it becomes harder to make plays. So, that said, that was one of the times in the game I thought that, we dug in and, got in the paint and, really we just, the defensive glass is the thing that hurt us the most. And we got to continue to grind on that, and we're going to be at a disadvantage, and everybody's got to rebound, whether we got to tip it to each other or get on the floor or it doesn't matter what it looks like. We just got to kill possessions with the ball.
Coach, you mentioned Jalen and just the difference in the first half and the second half. He had 4 points in the first half, and then he finishes with 29. Just what did you see out of him in that, especially that third quarter?
Yeah, well, I think it's where statistics get really misleading because, and I've said this about him, he was distributing the ball early in the game, and we weren't making some shots. But usually, if you maintain your poise, and continue to play the way, that he needs to play and wants to play, which is, when to shoot when you're open, drive the ball, push it in transition, all those things. You don't know what the game's going to present you. And in the second half, like I said, you just look at him on the bench and there's a quiet confidence that he wasn't discouraged. It would have been easy, given the games that he's had. Last night, as an example, when you're not scoring like that and, you're aware of that. And it's easy to force yourself on the game in those situations. And he just didn't do that. It shows a lot of maturity. You're going to have games like that,
I was going to say, Onyeka kind of fueled you guys quite a bit in the first half, especially with sort of that hook shot that he works on. What have you liked about his attacking of the paint as opposed to just hanging his hat on his burgeoning 3-point shot?
Yeah, his floaters, usually, Durham's bigger than him. He's usually got a matchup where the guy that's guarding him, he's given up some height. But the way that he attacks and the touch that he has is unique. And, in spite of the fact that he's shooting threes, I don't think he's not just a 3-point shooter. If anything, he's a playmaker too. And they were making it hard for us in handoffs and things like that. They were blowing stuff up. So his ability to put the ball on the floor becomes really important.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
I'll look at the Xfinity upcoming schedule. Wednesday night, the Hawks are back home against the L.A. Clippers. Remember, James Harden almost single-handedly beat the Hawks in L.A. Hawks did win that game, but he had 35. He's a menace. Clippers have really struggled overall. And talk about ugly. They're kind of a hard team to watch sometimes.
Yeah, but it almost doesn't count.
But and he can almost pull it off on his own. That'll happen Wednesday night. Friday night, Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets are in town, and that's the first night of a back-to-back as the Hawks head to Washington, D.C. for a rematch with the Wizards on Saturday. Hawks have won 9 of their last 13. This was always going to be a tough one in Detroit because of the schedule, because of the opponent, because of the physicality, and they were up for the challenge for sure, but couldn't quite get it done on the scoreboard tonight.
We'll get the next one, fellas. You got to add to short-term memory. You got the Clippers on Wednesday.
Clippers Wednesday night. We'll see you for pregame then for Tabitha. I'm Mets. Good night from Detroit. We'll see you on Wednesday.